Hello, my name is Matthias Cavodi. I'd like to welcome you guys to my channel. Today we're going to talk about my first West Coast Avengers comic. It was West Coast Avengers 89. I didn't check out when this came out. It's probably late 80s, early 90s. And we're going to cover that first story arc because it was pretty awesome for me. Like back then. Now I went back to read the story. It's pretty basic. It does have some pretty good character moments. There's a couple of changes and a couple of characters that I do find enjoyable. The art is really solid. David Ross's art, top notch. My favorite incarnation aesthetically of Ultron is this one. It was written by Roy and Dan Thomas. And the West Coast Avengers series was really solid in general. It was a lot of fun. So without further ado, we're going to get into the story. So Ultron is back. He's escaped his holding cell. He's a more dangerous and more brutal Ultron. Like he's openly killing in its on panel at this time. Killing people using these nanites that eat human flesh. There's a little bit of a twist. Not only he wants to get rid of all of humanity, he wants to get rid of all of organic life now. And he obviously wants to enact his vengeance on the Avengers. And he has a little secret plan on the side that he wants to go through with. So what happens in this issue? Now, before we get into the story itself, we get the classic friction and confrontation between U.S. Agent and Hawkeye in this story, which went on during the whole time U.S. Agent was on the team, and actually has an impact further down in the story because Hawkeye just feels a little bit less because he doesn't have powers. Even though he's a total badass, he's a great strategist, he's a great leader of the team. U.S. Agent's always shitting on him because he's stronger and faster. And that seems to be an issue with Hawkeye as the story progresses and during the West Coast Avengers run. So, also we have the introduction of War Machine on the team. And like, look at the art. It's just fantastic. I love this artist. So, the scientist calls up the Avengers, tells them something's going down at the lab where he's working. That it's probably Ultron. He's back. He's going to cause a lot of trouble. The Avengers go off, try to see what's going on with that situation. Obviously, it's a distraction. It's a trap. While the Avengers went off to deal with this problem, Ultron attacks the mansion. And like, look at Ultron. He looks totally awesome. I love this incarnation of him. He attacks the mansion, starts trying to pick off Avengers one by one. First, he attacks Scarlet Witch. Like, here again, like, straight up Ultron killing this poor gardener that's trying to protect Scarlet Witch. Hawkeye's trying to deal with him. Like, his arrows aren't doing anything because obviously Ultron has an adamantium skeleton body. It doesn't do shit. But Vision drops in and tries to save the day. And this particular incarnation of Vision, I really love aesthetically. He looks awesome. It's very 80s. I love it that he's barefoot too. But he's really cool. I love this particular version of the Vision. So, classic battle between Ultron and the Vision. A lot of good action. Like, as I said, like, the art does go down a little bit. Like, the accent is a little bit wonky. The lines are not as well defined. The coloring also, just the quality goes down a little bit of a notch. But Ultron makes a run for it. And when he does it, he kidnaps Mockingbird because he's up to something. So, kidnaps Mockingbird, goes out and searches for Henry Pym, kidnaps him too. He uses his weird hypno rays to get him on board for his secret plan. And what are his secret plans? Well, here's another thing before we get into the plans themselves. The Avengers go out, try to rescue Mockingbird. And like here you have U.S. Agent shitting on poor Hawkeye. And Hawkeye just doesn't want to deal with this anymore. He actually had stole a vial of Pym particles. He drinks it and becomes the new Goliath. This went on for a very, very brief time. But Hawkeye for a time became Goliath, giant man. So he can help rescue his he was divorced by his ex-wife because they got divorced prior to this, but he still loves her. He wants to rescue her. And what Ultron does is turn Mockingbird into Algema. Jocasta didn't turn out well. Like, Jocasta was Ultron's first wife based on the Wasp. Now he uses Mockingbird to make Alkahima, and she has cone breasts, just like Madonna from back in the early 90s. And she's Ultron's new wife, which the hilarious thing is that she's more independent, and he gives like Ultron a nickname and stuff like that. And they start squabbling between each other. Like Ultron, as the story progresses, starts to really not like his creation. Doesn't like the way she doesn't treat Ultron with the proper respect. So the whole confrontation between Ultron and Alkahima is pretty hilarious. So at the end of the story, like the accent, as I said before, the story is pretty bare bones. But the whole change of Hawkeye into Goliath, the creation of Alkahima, has some potential. We have Henry Pym back on the team, giving a hand with his Pym particles. At the end of the story, they're able to deal with Ultron. They send him out into space, as they usually do. And the story ends. But if you haven't read West Coast Avengers, there's a lot of much better stories than this one. But this one has a special place in my heart because it was the first time I started reading West Coast Avengers when I was a kid. I got on board with this issue. So, see you guys next time.